It does seem like we are running into the problem that there are players that are less ready for a fight this difficult. I think that's just where we wipe it. Welcome back to the Mentor Roulette grind. And this time, we have one of those more challenging days with a bunch of extremes. Starting off with some guild tests, with Duty 1 being the Bomb Queen as Paladin. And while nothing scary happened this time around with how lethal the bombs actually can be, the run felt a bit slow. Starting off with one random Candle avoiding combat with us, so we had to run all the way back to the entrance, and then, I don't know, maybe damage was just a bit low? We did have some sprouts, so maybe it was just normal. For Duty 2, we were reaping Bachman. What's really interesting here is that the potency difference is so high on attacks from Reaper that whether it is beneficial to set up Death's Design comes down to whether you get to finish on Waxing Slice or not. Yes, really. For Duty 3, we go and ignore some blue flames. It is funny how you can usually tell who's either a first timer or has not been here for a long time, because when you know the fight, you completely ignore the flames, since even if you try to put them out, the Hound summons so many flames that there's just no point trying to deal with them all. Especially not since the boss gains the same buff whether you have 1 or 10 flames on the field. For Duty 4, we went to Porta Decumana. As we are in a party with no raid buffs, all we can do for optimization in phase 1 would be to aim to waste as little Death's Design while the boss is unattackable anyway as possible, which is hard to do. There's no benefit to stockpiling resources as there are no bursts to be had, except for in the final bit of the fight. The buff you get alongside the Limit Break 3 triples all damage you do, so holding gauge to use Bloodstalk the moment this is possible would be a gain. Consider how you might be able to save a single second! The gains! For Duty 5, we went to Castrum Meridianum as Dark Knight. An interesting optimization for Dark Knight at this level is that its AoE combo is so strong that it is a gain on 2. But between its MP spenders, they are equal on 3 targets, and the AoE only takes over past that point, so on smaller pulls, or for instance a fight with a priority target like Black Eft, using AoE but Edge of Darkness can be a way to optimize for both. Oh, also, a random thing that came up on the stream is how the alarms in this dungeon sound like the alarms are saying something. Some say it sounds like, "Heal me," while others say it sounds like, "Kill me." What does it sound like to you? Although, maybe be careful with the second option. I could imagine the comment section moderation might catch that one in a weird way. You know, the automated stuff. For Duty 6, we're once again back to Good King Mugglemorg Extreme. Praise be his fluffiness. As Gunbreaker, we go over a lengthy explanation of how the fight goes, which did include explaining what Ishuna is, so we definitely had some sprouty sprouts. This was also in essence foreshadowing. We sort of make it through the first wave decently well, and in the second wave, the mechanic where 3 players are crowd controlled that need Ishuna to escape happens, but all 3 players die, which means a tank, a healer, and a DPS goes down, which, despite quick reactions with races, destabilizes the team so fast that we go down before there is a chance to recover. After another 5-minute discussion about mechanics, we go into attempt 2, featuring 2 new macros, the attack and hold macros to warn the team of what to do when. The first wave goes incredibly well with the Mox Guard low as needed, and while the triangle mechanic happened, it didn't hit anyone. During wave 2, we swap the king, and the ranger moogle uses its Mog Rain of Death, but thanks to not too many inspiration stacks, it was livable. As it overlaps with the triple Ishuna mechanic, I sent a manually written warning about it, but our healers were already on the case, and we make it through, still with 0 deaths. Leading us into wave 3 with a very weakened king. We of course survive the initial Mog Meteor, Pom Holy starts, but is cancelled in time, and while we have a Dragoon barely surviving, the rest of the team was fine. We also have a mechanic with some Circle AoEs barely missing the kill on one of our healers, right around as we enter the final countdown as the Mox Guards start dying off. And with 0 deaths, we make it through the fight. What a fantastic improvement from the first pull. Very well done to everyone. For Duty 7, we went to O4N, Exdeath as Warrior. Although, I spent most of the fight absent-mindedly failing mechanics because I kept getting myself distracted with other things, ranging from hitting through pyretic fire, not moving for deep freeze, collecting vuln stacks, and so on. Just really making the most of my tank privilege. And then, as the fight was finishing up, the karma of the universe punished me for my transgressions by crashing my camera. On the plus side, the community ran with it, leading to this fantastic GIF. And yeah, we made it through with no issues. For duty 8, the world is healing? Question mark? I don't know. As we meet Ramuh Extreme once again as Paladin. Same Dark Knight from Thornmarch earlier. We start off with a 5-minute overview of the fight and blast off into attempt 1. In this first attempt, while things were very chaotic, what ultimately stopped us was both healers going down in the same moment, which was caused partly through unfortunate random placement of blue circles, but also partly caused by having too many lightning orbs on the arena. Which, admittedly, is probably partly my fault. When I explain the fight, I usually leave out the part about orbs on the field increasing the damage of the blue circle AoEs, because as long as enough players know about it, leaving some players in the dark might make things easier overall. Too many cooks, you know. Before attempting again, I explained this, and we're off again for attempt 2. We enter phase 2, and blue circles appear, with a bunch overlapping the healers, who, might I add, didn't seem to be feared, but they didn't dodge hard enough and both die. And with no one else able to rest, we're back to the start again. For attempt 3, we have a moment where my co-tank ends up overcharged. I'm not sure if they started grabbing more after the first one deliberately, but they did end up with 3, making the tank switch a lot more pressing. Due to the timing of everything, the safest way to fix this was to have me overcharge 1 to displace the timing again, and let my co-tank drop their stacks entirely. However, as we go into the last phase, a Rolling Thunder goes on a rampage while both healers are feared and left unsaved. We review the Rolling Thunder mechanic. A really random observation I just made as we go into attempt 4 is that both healers seemed wholly unaware that their barriers override each other, so you can regularly see this ping pong of green, blue shield icons across the raid. We make it pretty effectively through phase 2, but just as we enter phase 3, my co-tank forgot to tank switch, so I play for time by refreshing my buff exactly 1 second before it ends, and remind them to be ready next time. Thankfully, I guess, this led there to being extra orbs, making Rolling Thunder much easier to deal with. Unfortunately, 2 of our DPS are missed for fears and die. Tank switching stabilizes again, but then we have Rolling Thunder spawn seemingly on players that don't know how to handle it, and we promptly wipe up. The reason why this is so devastating is that the longer Rolling Thunder sticks around, the harder it hits. So if the first 2 players don't do anything about it, by the time it hits player 3 and 4 and so on, it hits so hard that it can easily kill out of nowhere. We once again clarify how Rolling Thunder works and reiterate how crucial it is to deal with, as it is the type of mechanic where if you are the chosen one, you have to know, and have to do it, as we will keep wiping until it goes right. Attempt 5 begins, and we start off with the super cursed case where the orbs land out in the corners of the universe. Which also is just further compounded by me being feared, you know, because I was out in the corners of the universe. But miraculously, no one dies as I get feared and then take a tank buster inches from another player. We enter phase 2, overlapping with fears, leaving a healer and a DPS unable to act, but not dead. And unfortunately, when the second opportunity comes, they're missed again, leading to their deaths. Due to all the chaos, my co-tank missed their chance for tank switch again, but we still managed to recover. Phase 3 starts with Rolling Thunder, and it gets resolved. We have a tank switch, and then the next Rolling Thunder happens to land on me, which might sort of force an early tank switch later. Or it would have, but we have one more Rolling Thunder solved perfectly as I take over tanking, and the fight ends before another tank switch is even needed. An absolutely incredible improvement over the course of half an hour. Very well done, everyone. For duty 9, we bonk man some more as Dark Knight. 1-2, 1-2, and off we go. For duty 10, we went to Haukke Manor, and considering how actions are gradually introduced to their repertoire, I suspect the healer is either a first-timer to the job or very rusty. We start off with some early pull kiting tactics to make it work, but as we get better acquainted with each other, things stabilize a lot more. And we rush through the duty nice and easy. For duty 11, we went to M11N, Arcadion's Tyrant as Dancer. Man, this is a lot easier as a ranged physical. A very distinct thing about the arena split phase, at least for a normal raid, is that you can get in trouble if you don't split your party somewhat evenly. You need 2 players at least on each side to intercept the meteors, or you end up taking a lot of damage. And if you don't split correctly initially, it can be super hard to fix later, since how do you easily communicate who hops over? And then there's the sandwich bit. That isn't super hard, just pay attention. And aside from a couple deaths during the arena split phase, primarily related to being tossed off the arena in some form or another, we make it through nicely. For Duty 12, we went to Rathalos Extreme as Gunbreaker. Our first attempt is cut short because no one jumped on Rathalos. Pro tip for that one, the mini-boss does a lot of damage, so you don't want the tank to ride Rathalos. And due to the various damage coming out during that bit, you don't want the healer riding Rathalos either. So that means a DPS has to do it, and if you're a DPS, let's just say it doesn't matter which one does it. So if you want to succeed, the optimal choice is to offer up yourself to do it. Worst case, both DPS try, and that's not a bad problem to have. On the second attempt, we make it all the way to the first down with no deaths, and cut that tail. Then Rathalos gets up and 1-2 punches our machinist, and in the chaos, he turns around and combos the healer down too. A tip here is that Rathalos is very counterintuitive in a way. As a ranged job, the sporadic and chaotic nature of the mechanics in the fight may make you feel compelled to stay far away. However, the problem here is that the main mechanic Rathalos will target a ranged job with is his charge, which simply charges faster if you're far away. And if you are far away, it might be harder to see that he is targeting you, so you can't dodge in time. Not to mention, if you are really close, you can sometimes dodge through him or easily sidestep, which gets harder as you get further away. My advice here is that when fighting Rathalos, to the best of your ability, spread the team out so that no player is on top of another. Optimally, each player is at a 90-degree angle relative to 2 other players, so Rathalos has to turn clearly to face a specific player to hit them. Next, if you're ranged, position yourself far enough away from Rathalos that you can easily stay out of their frontal cone fire breath, but not any further than that, as it doesn't help anyway. Thankfully, we managed to knock him down and defeat him before he gets up again. Very nice. For Duty 13, we went to fight some Gobbos as Black Mage. Perhaps one of very select few duties where Scathe might have a purpose. And then, finally, for Duty 14, we went to Thordan Extreme. Most of the raid stays in, but the Dark Knight almost immediately disconnects. Whether deliberate or not, we concluded we had to dismiss them to make space for an active player. However, the first pull is done as 7 players. Despite that, we make it into the long intermission, but just before the point where we would have needed 2 tanks, nearly the entire raid dies, including both healers. And yeah, there's no chance. Even with a summoner to raise someone with, even if it was a full party, this would mean a wipe, and we go down. We discussed the possibility that the disconnected tank just closed the game, hoping to get kicked to dodge the lever penalty, but concluded that we cared more about winning. Waited out the 5-minute timer and kicked them. This was also more reasoned by the fact that I had several players waiting to queue into the duty to help us, so it wasn't a matter of if or when a replacement would come, just a matter of who. And when it comes to who, you may be shocked to find Ilana was the one that managed to answer the call. For the second attempt, we have some issues with chains not resolving and enter the 2 adds part just as 2 DPS and a healer goes down. The bit here is to split the adds apart, 1 tank for each, and the party should be focusing the Sword Oath guy, which changes throughout the part. Also, their tank busters hurt. The next part features baited AoEs, and we all spread out too well, leading to far too many deaths. Simple solution is to stack dead center until the red circles appear, and then spread out. In fact, a lot of mechanics in this whole intermission boil down to stack middle, run to clock spots, stack middle, run to clock spots. For the third attempt, we only have 1 death during chains, but both healers and a tank go down as we enter the double add phase, leading to a wipe. Spotting the exact safe spot for those crossing lines is not very easy, so it's not surprising we see so many deaths to it. For the fourth attempt, no one died to the chains, but a tower wasn't soaked. Only one player died to the flyby lines, and we make it past the double adds with everyone alive. Most of the raid remembered to stack middle, but then we weren't quite in agreement on who runs where, leading to some chaos distracting from the knockback that follows. For attempt 5, chains are handled well, all towers are soaked, and all players with a res die to the lines. Attempt 6 then, we finally get past the lines with 0 deaths. Everyone baits the circle's center, 2 DPS go down as AoEs resolve, and the healer dies to the knockback as we go into the meteor part. We manage to recover the party in time for the ultimate attack leading into the final phase. The very first mechanic of the phase starts, which is like a wild charge, except you also need everyone to survive it, especially the healer that gets stunned for the initial setup. If even a single player dies, it leads to an instant party wipe. Unfortunately, only Elana and I knew about this, and we wiped. We try again, attempt 7 crosses the halfway point on the timer, the lines kill 2 players. The circles section kills the same 2 players, but we make it to the final phase again. The first mechanic comes again, and due to the healers stacking too closely to the center, it got too difficult to line up, and the other healer gets hit from an odd angle, killing them first. And then attempt 8 begins. The opening phase, as usual, has nothing special to talk about. The chains are handled, but the summoner dies to not moving fast enough. The lines kill me this time. Whoops. I told you they were difficult to read. We clear the 2 adds, probably bait the circles, and all survive into the meteor phase. A combined 2 deaths in the whole intermission. And we enter phase 3 with no weakness and everyone alive. The first mechanic comes again, and while not perfect, we have players in position to line up. It was actually a miracle the Dragoons stepped away just before the line shot, as if they had been hit, we would have wiped instead. A gaze happens, which then gets the Dragoon killed. It is worth mentioning that I do believe they have been hit by every gaze mechanic the entire session. The second mechanic comes, which starts with pillar soaks overlapping with the gaze as well as a cone wave. This got scary as Thordan was moved into some of the pillars too. We make it out of it with 2 dead players. Next mechanic up is a shove overlapping with a stack marker, which we did manage to resolve, but our current main tank got shoved into the goop and died. Elana realizes the problem and gets into position. Awkwardly, both healers hard raise the tank, leaving the Dragoon on the floor, but a swift-casted raise comes through. The next mechanic begins with spread markers, and at this point, I have personally determined that anything more complex than that, we probably won't survive, and I start just tunneling the boss. Or to be more specific, if everyone except me and Elana died attempting to resolve the mechanic, whatever it is, I was confident we would still win. What happens is a stack that seems to also overlap with baited line AoEs and more. The Dragoon tries to use Limit Break and is stopped. Barely survives, but aside from them, myself and the 2 tanks, everyone else dies. And then Thordan goes down. Some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Also, absolutely fantastic progression on this team. While there were definitely players that had a much harder time with learning the mechanics, each pull made some level of steady progress, although it was rough how concentrated the progress needed to be in the final phase as we quickly ran out of time due to needing like 5 minutes just to see a mechanic. 14 more duties in the bank, and the second successful Thordan Extreme as well. Quite a while back, we actually managed to beat Thordan Extreme synced with only 4 players, just to see that we could, which definitely contributed to why I was more focused on getting most of the raid to get it right, rather than everyone. And we've also now passed 24 31sts on the achievement. Now, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support me and my channel more directly, you can become a member like these wonderful people here. You can also alternatively support me through Twitch or Ko-Fi. Links in the description. You can also support the channel by letting the YouTube algorithm know by liking the video, leaving a comment, subscribing, sharing, and hitting the bell to get notified when next I post a video. Fun fact, due to potency changes, when you initially unlock Gunbreaker, Burst Strike actually does slightly more damage than Gnashing Fang. Like a 10 potency difference. This means that during No Mercy, if you only have 1 GZD worth of time left, a Burst Strike is actually better than Gnashing Fang at level 60.